everyone, my name is Karen, this is my channel RatherBeReading, and today I'm bringing to you the Alphabet Soup book tag. So this is a book tag that was originally created by Sean the Book Maniac. I will leave a link to his original video down below. It's actually part of a series of tags where he is taking letters from the alphabet and creating tags based on that letter. So he started with A, but he's not doing them in, what would you call it? Chronological? Would you call it chronological or sequential, or would you call it alphabetical? Holy shit, Karen, that was real dumb. He's not doing it in like alphabetical order because I think so far he's done A, N, and then I think E. But I thought it would be like a fun tag to do because I could like keep going with the series as he creates more of them. And I just thought it would be fun to do the series. So I am starting with the first one that he did, which is Alphabet Soup Book Tab. A is for author. So like I said, I will leave a link to his original video down below. I wasn't tagged by anyone. I just thought this would be like a fun series of tags to do. So let's jump into the questions. So the first question is, A is for author. A good book by an author whose first or last name starts with the letter A. First names are too easy, so bonus points for a surname, double bonus points for first and last name. And I've gone for double bonus points because I've picked The Casket Girls by, now, I always presumed that this was pronounced Alice, like it was an alternative spelling of Alice. And then I was watching a video by someone else and I can't remember who it was, and they weren't talking about this author, but another author with the same first name, like same spelling, and they pronounced it Elise, and I was like, oh, and then so I watched a video from this author, and it is pronounced Elise, so I've just been pronouncing it incorrectly this whole time. So The Casket Girls by Elise Arden. So this is the first book in a like YA paranormal trilogy. It's set in New Orleans. It follows a character named Adele who discovers some kind of witchy things about herself. This series has like witches, vampires, like witch covens, all kind of like interesting things. It's quite fat, but I really enjoyed it. I also have the second book. Can you see it here? Yeah, with the Romeo catches, which I also really liked. And the final book in the trilogy, which I can't remember the name of, but I have it on my wish list, but it is like $45 because these are self-pubbed. And so I want to read that book so bad to finish the trilogy, but it is so expensive. So I haven't finished it yet, but this is definitely a book by an author with an A, by A names, that I really enjoyed. So there's that. The next question is, A is for well, A or the last book you read with the article / one letter word A in the title. And so I went back through my like reading spreadsheet and I actually had to go a little bit further back than I would have thought to find the word A in the last book title that I read. But the last one that I read with A in the title was A Midsummer's Nightmare by Cody Keplinger, which is the third book by Cody Keplinger that I've read, and not my favorite. I really enjoyed the first two that I read by her, but I didn't really enjoy this one or Lying Out Loud. I would personally recommend reading The Duff or Shutout, but I wouldn't really recommend this one. But anyway, that is the last book that I read with A in the title. And the next question is, A is for angry, a book that pissed you off. The first book that came to mind when I thought of that was George and Lizzie by Nancy Pearl, which is a book that I read earlier this year and that it's not even my lowest rated of the year, but it's still the one I think of as the one that like pissed me off because it's about George and Lizzie as like a couple and it's like supposed to follow their like romantic history, but Lizzie is the worst. She at the start of the novel was in a relationship with someone else and he leaves and says that he's like gonna, like they're at college and he says he's gonna come back and then he just like never comes back. And she is still like in love with him and like pining over him the whole way through her relationship with George, to the point where she has his name engraved on a bracelet that she then wears to her wedding. And she's like literally constantly trying to get in contact with him and find him again, even though she's like getting married and then married to this other man. It was awful and I hated it so much and the whole book made me really angry. So there's that. Next is A is for awesome, a top read of recent years. So this didn't have bonus points for it, but my book starts with the letter A, so I feel like I should get a bonus point. One of my favorite books from recent years was An Unwanted Guest by Shari LaPena. This is one of my favorite thrillers. It's the only Shari LaPena that I've read so far, and I really want to read more by her. This is a kind of closed door type of mystery. It is set at like a hotel, I think it's in Vermont, if I recall, where they kind of get snowed in and then one of the guests dies, and who did it? Because they're all locked in there together, so it's got to be one of them. Really, really enjoyed this. Gave it 4.5 stars. One of my favorite thrillers and one of my favorite books that I read last year. So there's that. Next is A is for a book whose title includes at least 3 A's, bonus points for more than 3. And again, I've gone for bonus points because I'm an overachiever. And I've gone for Always and Forever Lara Jean by Jenny Han, which the title itself has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 A's in it. I feel like I knocked this one out of the park. So this is, of course, the third book in the To All the Boys I've Loved Before series by Jenny Han, which is a YA contemporary series, which I really enjoy. I feel like I've got even more love for the books because this series, because I've seen the movie adaptation of To All the Boys I've Loved Before, and I love that movie. Like, I love the movie even more than I enjoyed these books. But I did really enjoy this trilogy overall. And I picked this one, like I said, because it had 6 A's in the title, which what possibly could have been a better choice for that question. Next is 6. A is for annoying, a character that drove you up the wall. And I have decided to go with a classic annoying character from literature, and I've gone for Lydia Bennet from Pride and Prejudice. Lydia is so frustrating. Her and Kitty both, the 2 younger sisters of the Bennet family, are like really like flighty, giggly kind of girls, which can already be kind of annoying. But then if you've read this, you know Lydia makes some terrible decisions, and then even though the outcome may not go as badly as what you might think, no spoilers, she then like takes that as being like, oh well, it was fine all along, even though I did make a terrible decision. And it's really frustrating. Every time I read this, I'm like, Lydia! But Lydia is an annoying character, for sure. Next question is question 7. A is for ambivalent, a book that you're still not sure how you feel about. And I just couldn't come up with an answer for this. A lot of these questions I really had to be like, okay, do some thinking. I thought about this for a while and I just could not come up with anything that I just like don't know how I feel about. I feel like I'm pretty solid in my convictions on most of my thoughts. I mean, there's books that I'm like ambivalent about that I'm just like, didn't like it, didn't hate it. But there's no books that I'm just like, I'm not sure how I felt about. Like, I'm pretty happy in my convictions in whether I enjoyed or didn't enjoy most books that I've read. So I don't really have an answer for that one. Question 8 is, A is for anticipation, a book, new release or not, that you're very much looking forward to reading. And for that, I've decided to go with The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern, because this book just came out and it is getting such good reviews and I want to read it so bad. So bad. I read The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern last year, I believe, and loved it. Erin Morgenstern's writing was just so good, and the premise of The Starless Sea sounds really interesting because it's kind of about books and like libraries in a way, kind of, from what I understand. But the reviews have, because I was nervous because the follow-up book, especially after such a long time, because The Night Circus was originally published in I think 2011, so it's been like 8 years. And sometimes when there's such a big gap, like, it can make me really nervous. Like, am I going to enjoy the follow-up as much as the first book? But the reviews have just been so good that it's making me want to read it. So, like, I'm just dying to get my hands on that book. But then I know even if I bought it now, it'd take me like 4 years to finally get to it off my TBR. But I want to read it so bad. Moving on. Question 9 is, A is for actually, a book that you didn't expect to like, but did. For that, I have gone with Boy Swallows Universe by Trent Dalton. This is, did I read this year? Yeah, I did, because this is one of the reasons, because this is, yeah, I know this was published this year because it's currently in the running for the, I think, best debut novel in the Goodreads Choice Awards, which I voted for this book, in case you're interested. I wasn't sure whether I was going to enjoy this because it is quite literary, and it was up for a lot of like literary prizes in Australia. And when a book is really like prize-winning type of book, it makes me really nervous because I just don't always jive well with really like highbrow like literary fiction. But I loved this. This is about a boy it's set in the 80s in Brisbane, and he comes from like a really kind of unconventional upbringing. His parents are kind of involved in drugs. And his babysitter is an ex-con, and his brother's mute, and it's just kind of about it's kind of a coming of age story. It's about kind of his life. I really, really, really enjoyed this. I do recognize this book is not for everyone, which is surprising that I loved it so much. Like, I thought my dad would enjoy this, and I gave it to him to read, and he only made it like 100 pages in, and then he was just like, I don't like this book, and he didn't even finish it. So it's definitely not for everyone, but I personally really, really, really loved this. And it also has a real connection to Trent Dalton's life. And when I read if you read this, you should look up interviews that Trent Dalton has done where he talks about like his relationship with his mother and how that ties into this story, because it really added a lot even more after I already gave this 5 stars, and then I read that and it just made me love it even more. So there's that. I say there's that so often. Anyway, question 10 is, A is for affected, a character, book, or writer that you feel is pretentious. Now, this might be controversial, but as soon as I hear the word pretentious in relation to books, the first book that always comes to mind for me is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I have read that book twice, and I didn't like it either time, and I do think that it is pretentious in a way that in some ways it's supposed to be kind of pretentious, because the characters and the setting and all that is kind of pretentious, so it's kind of supposed to be a little bit, but I find the writing of it generally kind of pretentious. And it's funny because I actually do have 2 other Donna Tartt books on my TBR. I have The Goldfinch, which is obviously her other most popular one, and I have heard that either you love The Goldfinch or you love The Secret History. So maybe because I didn't like The Secret History, that means I'm gonna love The Goldfinch. Who knows? But I also have her book A Little Friend, I think it's called, which is kind of a murder mystery, which I freaking love a murder mystery. So I'm intrigued, but I'm nervous because, like I said, I really didn't like The Secret History. So there's that. Oh my God, I'm going to try not to say that anymore. Question 11 is, A is for how's it going? A book you like by a Canadian writer or one you want to read. I just think that question is really funny. I will admit that I'm not super well versed in like where authors are from, which maybe I should be, but I'm not. So I did some Googling for like Canadian authors, and I came across, so what was the question? A book you liked or one you want to read? Yeah, because I was like, just realized that I picked a book that I hadn't read, and I panicked for a second that I'd misread the question, but I haven't. So the book I've gone for is All the Rage by Courtney Summers. So in doing that research, I realized that Courtney Summers is a Canadian author, and I picked this because this is on my TBR, and this was recently in my 5-star TBR predictions that I recently did, because this book deals with rape, which is a topic that I really enjoy in fiction, like commentary on that I really enjoy. So I'm really hoping that I'm gonna love this. I have already read Sadie by Courtney Summers, which I read last month or the month before and really enjoyed, but I think I'm gonna love this one even more, maybe. And so this is a book by a Canadian author that I'm really looking forward to getting to. 12, A is for anticlimactic, a book you thought fizzled out at the end. This is another one that I really struggled with. And I know for a fact that there are books that I've read where I'm like, and then it just ended and the ending was terrible, and I could not think of a single one of them. And then the only one that I could think of was The Giver by Lois Lowry, which very much fell into that category for me, because the ending, like, I enjoyed kind of the world and the way that this story was going, but then it just kind of ends. And I didn't like that. And for me, it really fizzled out at the end, which I know this book is like really, really popular. So I was surprised that it ended the way that it did. And I figured that maybe it's gonna be like tied off, because I know that the 4th book in the series is, I think, ties all of the previous books kind of together, but I don't believe that this was a book that she originally planned to be a series. So for me, it still is like a fizzle out ending, in my opinion. So I'm really having to struggle to not say there's that. And the final question is, A is for all the booktubers, tag a swack of people. So I'm not actually going to tag anyone just because this one has been out for a while. Like I say, and I wasn't tagged, but if you are interested in doing this tag, then you definitely should. Particularly because then you can follow on with the other letters in the alphabet. And because I think the first one that I saw for this was actually not even the A video. I think I saw the N one and really liked the questions for that. So I'm looking forward to getting to that one, which I'll probably do over the next like coming months. Whenever I need a tag to film, I'll probably do the next 2 that are already out, and then hopefully by the time I've done this, there might be another letter that's been out. So yeah, it's just a fun like series of tags that you can go back and revisit and do like a new letter. So I thought it was fun, and if you're interested in doing it, then you should. But yeah, that's it for this tag. I'd love to chat with you guys in the comments down below if you've got any thoughts on any of my answers. What is a book for you that was really anticlimactic? I would love to. Anticlimactic endings are the worst. Like, the ending is make or break for the book. It can, because it's like what you're left with when you finish the book. So it really does affect like my feelings on the book, or at least for me personally. Does it for you? I would love to know. Please like this video if you liked it. Please subscribe if you want to see more from my channel. That is all I have for this video today. Bye guys.